Hey you guys, welcome back to my channel. So we have been watching Ghislaine Maxwell's trial pretty closely. The past few days, the jury, they have been out for deliberations, but today they came back with a verdict. And Ghislaine Maxwell, she has been found guilty of recruiting and trafficking young girls to be sexually abused by the late American financier Jeffrey Epstein. Ghislaine, she turned 60 years old just a few days ago. On Christmas Day, actually, she turned 60 years old. She was found guilty on 5 of the 6 counts that she faced, including the most serious charge, that of sex trafficking a minor. The verdict was reached after 5 full days of deliberation by a 12-person jury in New York. So this means that the British socialite will potentially more than likely spend the rest of her life behind bars. Articles that I'm reading, they are saying that she is looking at anywhere from 65 to 70 years behind bars. Obviously, I do believe she could face less than that, but I think that is the maximum, is 65 to 70 years behind bars. Articles also that I'm reading say that Maxwell showed no visible sign of emotion as the verdict was read out today. Shortly after the verdict was read, her legal team said that they were already working on an appeal. Teresa Helm, one of Jeffrey Epstein's accusers, praised the women that testified during the trial. Teresa Helm told BBC, "Justice takes the lead today. I'm consumed with gratitude for every brave, courageous, and justice-driven person that has fought for this outcome. Ghislaine Maxwell will never again have the opportunity to take anything from anyone. She will reside on the other side of freedom." So we're going to go over the charges she was found guilty of. Like I said, she was facing 6 charges. She was found guilty of 5 of the 6 charges. So she was found guilty of sex trafficking of a minor, which carries a maximum sentence of 40 years in prison. She was found guilty of transporting a minor with the intent to engage in criminal sexual activity, which carries a maximum sentence of 10 years. She was found guilty of conspiracy to transport minors with intent to engage in criminal sexual activity. That charge carries a maximum sentence of 5 years. She was found guilty of conspiracy to entice minors to travel to engage in illegal sex acts, which carries a maximum sentence of 5 years. She was found guilty of conspiracy to commit sex trafficking of minors, which also carries a maximum sentence of 5 years. She was found not guilty of 1 count, and that being enticement of a minor to travel to engage in illegal sex acts. Keeping up with what the jury has been doing over the course of their deliberations, like they've asked for a whiteboard, they've asked for post-it notes, they have asked for the testimony or transcripts of different people's testimony. They also asked the judge how could they find Ghislaine Maxwell guilty of this charge that they actually did not find her guilty, enticement of a minor to travel to engage in illegal sex acts, for the victim who went under a pseudonym, Jane. So the problem with that is the only evidence they had of her being involved with this situation was they had evidence to show that Ghislaine Maxwell, she facilitated Jane's flight home. So Jane was seeing Jeffrey Epstein. I think it was actually at his New Mexico ranch that she was seeing him there. And Ghislaine Maxwell, she made the plans for the minor to fly back home from that visit. And that's the only evidence that they had, was that she facilitated that flight back home. So the jury actually asked the judge, like, how can we find her guilty of enticement of a minor to travel to engage in illegal sex acts if the only evidence we have is that she facilitated the ride home? I could understand that one, and it seems that's the one charge that they found her not guilty on. The U.S. Attorney Damon Williams welcomed the verdict and commended the bravery of the victims who came forward. In a statement, he said, "A unanimous jury has found Ghislaine Maxwell guilty of one of the worst crimes imaginable, facilitating and participating in the sexual abuse of children. The first time I saw Ghislaine Maxwell, I followed her from the door of her luxurious brownstone down the streets of Manhattan asking her about the horrific allegations against her. A decade later, I saw her for the final time in court and no longer able to run away from the truth about her life with Jeffrey Epstein. This sex trafficking ring was not about profit, but it was more for the sick pleasure of two powerful individuals, that being Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. Ghislaine and Jeffrey ran in influential social circles and often name-dropped friends in high places such as Bill Clinton, Donald Trump, Prince Andrew, and that enchanted their victims. Like I said, this was something that young girls who did not come from money, did not have money, that they were probably enamored by. They were lured by Jeffrey Epstein. They were lured by Ghislaine Maxwell with gifts, promises to help their careers, and them with schooling. The prosecutor said the process of grooming these teenage girls for abuse was a key part of Maxwell's playbook. Their jaw-dropping wealth and connections were also another way that they intimidated and silenced their victims, and that shielded the duo from scrutiny. When these girls, I guess, kind of realized that they were being taken advantage of, this was not right, and they realized maybe that they were victims, they were scared to come forward because they knew that Ghislaine and Jeffrey, they knew that they had friends in high places, they knew that they had a lot of money, and that was probably a fight that they felt they could not win, which ultimately, like I said, it shielded them from any type of scrutiny or any type of having to pay for their crimes, basically, because these girls were scared to go up against Ghislaine Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein. Maxwell, who was a longtime associate of Jeffrey Epstein, she has been in jail since her arrest last July. Jeffrey Epstein took his own life back in 2019 while he was awaiting a sex trafficking trial as well. Ghislaine Maxwell, being a well-connected socialite, she is said to be the one to have introduced Jeffrey Epstein to wealthy and powerful figures, including Bill Clinton and Prince Andrew. During Ghislaine Maxwell's month-long trial, her attorneys argued that she was a scapegoat for Jeffrey Epstein's crimes, while prosecutors sought to link the duo as partners in crime who ran a pyramid scheme of abuse. 4 women took the stand at this trial. All said that they had been sexually abused by Epstein before they turned the age of 18 years old, and that Maxwell was the one to urge, facilitate, and even participate in some of the sexual abuse and the sexual encounters. There was one woman, Annie Farmer, who used her real name in her testimony, while the others used pseudonyms. Assistant U.S. Attorney Allison Moe said Ghislaine Maxwell made her own choices. She committed crimes hand in hand with Jeffrey Epstein. She was a grown woman who knew exactly what she was doing. It is not yet clear when Ghislaine Maxwell will be sentenced, but like I said, her family and her attorneys, they have already started the appeals process. In a statement, they said, "We believe firmly in our sister's innocence. We are very disappointed with the verdict. We have already started the appeal tonight, and we believe she will ultimately be vindicated." So the jurors in the trial came to this decision after about 5 full days of deliberating. But I do think that they were really involved in this. Like, to maybe someone like me, if I was a juror, I would have just went in there and I would have automatically been like, guilty. I think she's guilty. But they really went through the evidence. They came back several times asking the judge for different things. They wanted to go over, the women's testimony. They wanted to go over the pilot's testimony. They wanted to go over and be more in depth with the testimony just from what they heard in the court. They heard it at the trial, but they really wanted to do a deep dive into it, read through it as they deliberated, so they could find, they could come to I guess probably what they believe is a just verdict. And I think it is a just verdict. Maxwell, she is potentially looking at 65 to 70 years in prison. So more than likely, she may spend the remainder of her life behind bars. And I hope this feels like justice for the victims. While Jeffrey Epstein, he never withstood trial. And I don't know, for these women who was victimized by Jeffrey Epstein, I don't know if they feel any vindication, being that he committed suicide. I don't know if it would have been better for them to see him go through trial and be found guilty through the justice system, or if they're, knowing that he's dead and he can no longer hurt anybody and he won't even have to serve prison time. He's just gone. I don't know how they feel, if they would have preferred for him to be found guilty. You guys can leave me your thoughts about that in the comment section below, but I'm sure they are happy with the outcome of Ghislaine Maxwell. They know the part that she played in their abuse. They know that she abused them as well. So I am happy that she was found guilty. You guys leave me your thoughts in the comment section below. Like I said, no word on when she will be sentenced, but I'm going to assume it's going to be within the next couple weeks, right? I think usually they set a sentencing date out for like 45 days. Now, I know in the Josh Duggar case, for some reason, they set it out like up to 4 months. It could take 4 months. But I think normally it's like 35 to 45 days. So hopefully sometime, within the next few weeks, we will at least know when she will be sentenced, and hopefully sometimes within the next couple of months, at the very most, she will actually be sentenced. You guys leave me your thoughts in the comment section below. Make sure you give this video a huge thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. And I do think I'm going to be doing a little bit more coverage on this trial. Even though it's over, I think there's just so much out there, articles and stuff of things that went down at the trial. I do think I'm going to start talking about this a little bit more. If you guys are interested in that, let me know and I will do that. But yeah, leave me your thoughts in the comment section below. Give this video a huge thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. And until next time, I'll see you guys later. Goodbye, everyone.